In the revenge thriller drama The Glory, a young woman sets off on a long-term plan to get revenge on bullies who tormented her during their high school years. In this video, we'll look at how the series writes the downfall of one of the main antagonists, Park Yeon-jin, in her final scene of the series. Per usual, there will be spoilers to the story The Glory, so I recommend checking it out before proceeding further. Leading up to the scene we're exploring, the second half of the first season sees protagonist Dong-un escalating her plans to get revenge on her bullies, mostly by setting up circumstances so they turn against each other. For the lead bully, Yeonjin, the revelation of her past sins drives her husband and daughter away and leads to the loss of her job as a weather forecaster. As her life starts to crumble, Yeonjin is haunted by being tied to the deaths of a former schoolmate and one of the bullies, Myung-oh. Dong-un sets up a trap where she lures Yeonjin's mother into giving her daughter up to protect herself. So when we see Yeonjin in her final scene, she truly has lost everything. Prior to this scene, we see her walking with a line of inmates, only to discover that her mother is in another line. This shatters Yeonjin as she now knows there's no one on the outside who can help her. She cries out to her mother, but her mother ignores her as prison guards hold Yeonjin back. In her final scene, Yeonjin sits with other inmates in a large cell, emotionally and mentally shut down. Off-screen, we hear one of the other inmates taunt Yeonjin, asking her what the weather is going to be like. Yeonjin springs to life, standing up, tucking her shirt, and starts to go into a mock delivery of a weather forecast, forcing a smile on her face. As she delivers the weather, the camera stays close on Yeonjin's face as she cries. Again, off-screen, we hear the other inmates mocking her for crying while giving a weather forecast. The scene is sad and somber while allowing Yeonjin to wallow in her new hell. So we can look deeper into the scene and ask, what is the emotional center? In other words, what is the scene really about at its core? This might give us a clue on why this ending for Yeonjin works as the ending note for her downfall. I think in this scene, Yeonjin is finally realizing she has truly lost everything in her life. Her greatest fears have become true and she has lost control. When she cries, I think the weight of her self-reflection in this moment is too much for her to bear, so she is crying as a cathartic release. In previous scenes, especially when facing off against Dong-un, Yeonjin usually hides any self-reflection from coming to the surface, so she usually has a strong mask to never reveal any weakness and to force her will upon others. In this final prison scene, not only is she getting bullied by the other inmates, but Yeonjin has no other tactic, strategy, or card to play. She's completely trapped. When she does the mock delivery of the weather forecast, she's complying with the taunting of the other inmates. But it's also about her trying to grasp at something that was once part of her glamorous life, which is now completely gone. Her tears may reflect part of that realization of her now sad state. On top of this, Dong-un made it clear to her that Yeonjin needed to be the one to be pinned as responsible for Myung-oh's death. The series does a quick reveal that Myung-oh was eventually dealt the final killing blow from one of the store employees after Yeonjin fled the scene of the crime. As the cards fall, Yeonjin is denied any clear justice. She will take the full responsibility for the death and live out her days in prison. This ending for Yeonjin works because it's a complete reversal for her character. From the beginning of the season, she had everything she wanted in life, but now she has been reduced into a former shell of herself, becoming the victim of bullying inside a prison. Dong-un's revenge is complete in that every relationship of Yeonjin's was eventually destroyed. So overall, the series effectively writes Yeonjin's downfall because it has set her up as a character who has much to lose. As an audience, we also want to see justice delivered for the sins she has committed. This final scene is heartbreaking as we see all of Yeonjin's conflicted emotions play across her face as the other inmates laugh at her.